Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. That's Rob, I'm Brian. We're happy you're here this week. And as this podcast drops, it is race week again. Are you excited, Rob?
Can we say it's race week on a Sunday? Just little kind of just my OCD there is like, if Sunday is race day, that's a week away. Race day's tomorrow. Race week starts Monday.
Welcome back, Rob. I'm rounding.
I'm sorry, I'm in complete vacation mode. This pod could be a little loose. We need the warm-up before next week at Spa because I've almost drank my own body weight in beer 3 times over as we have family visiting from the UK, so it's been fantastic. But
That's awesome. That's awesome. We had our block party here last night, and that's why I'm having trouble getting my eyes to open all the way.
So stick with us. Thankfully, there's not a race that we have to review this week, but we are super excited about Spa because we've made no secret of the fact that for Brian and I, it's one of our favourite tracks ever. So, we will do some news and social roundup on what's been going on in the time since we've been away from the mic, which feels like forever, Brian. Like, because we pre-recorded that one with Paul, it just feels like we've stopped doing the pod because we didn't record anything like last week. And anyway,
it's good to be back, baby.
So we do that. We've got because it's been the the break, and we had to come up with some content. We've got a completely random game to come up between myself and Brian.
Game you can't find on any other podcast around.
Yeah, I wonder why. But anyway, that will be coming up. Then we've got our Spa preview, and that will be it. So it might be a bit of a short one this week, but I can't wait to get back into race week, which starts tomorrow, Brian.
Amazing today. And so why don't you highlight a couple things first, Rob, about Formula E and the announcement about 2026, because I don't really understand either.
Yeah, well, let's do the Formula E one first. So it's nice to see old Van Dorn win the Formula E title because I always thought he got a little bit of a rough ride in F1. So it's kind of nice to see him there, top of the block, trophy in hand. So,
I mean, they did call it, right? In 2018, Grand Prix driver on Amazon, which was a precursor to Netflix's Drive to Survive, a far less popular version. They really highlighted McLaren, and Stoffel Van Dorn was their star. So shout out Grand Prix driver.
I still haven't gone and dug through the internet depths to find that show. I'm sorry, I haven't.
Come on.
Yeah, then we get into the announcement of 2026. I've been trying to find a decent thread on Twitter that might do a 2026 engine regs for dummies because I can't really work out what all of this means. So there's lots of acronyms. Stuff is going away. More electricity is coming in. Sustainable fuel. People saying they're going to sound better and have more noise. Lots of people then saying, but because of the MGXYZ on your head shenanigans, there's going to be lots of lag now, and exiting corners is going to be like a slippery wet fish, and they're going to have to back off and recharge lots. So it's not going to be backing off to save tires; it's going to be backing off to charge up your battery. And I'm like, I got no clue what's going on, Brian.
Well, one of the other things, you hit some of the points, but one of them is there now a cost cap for the power unit manufacturers. I didn't know there hadn't been before. When they introduced the cost caps, I just sort of assumed from the team perspective that it covered the power unit manufacturers, but now apparently they will be under a cost cap starting in 2026. So should we read into it that the power unit manufacturers are just investing tons and tons of money on their power units? Sort of uncapped and unregulated at this point?
Well, Ferrari aren't.
Hey, just because you're using, rubber bands and things in there doesn't mean you're trying to save money. It's because you think it's a good idea. And then also, this week, so one silly season note, really no updates since the flurry to start the off season. But Daniel Ricciardo apparently, supposedly, according to sources, has asked for a $21 million buyout from McLaren.
Can you do that without doing a Dr. Evil kind of finger to the mouth there? Because I can't. Right?
$21 million. That's a lot of money to not race for them for next season. I'm sure that's, obviously some of the lost revenue from his current contract, but still, that's a pretty penny to go sit on the beach. And if he gets paid by another team to come in, I wonder if there's any, offset in there. Anyway.
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing. That's all we really got from the it felt like the silly season tidal wave was coming, and then all of a sudden we're now looking at Lake Placid because there's just nothing there anymore. It's just all gone quiet. So
yeah.
Who knows?
I think we may have some news coming soon, although I've been wrong about this every step of the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll see. There were, however, a lot of videos that came out, and the F1 channel went nuts this week and over the last week and a half. Just a ton of them, and I don't know how to rank these. There are so many, so we're going to go quickly.
Well, before you get into ranking it, I do have to warn everybody that the Brian has tried to come up with a grading system for his videos. So he's got, like... As we all know, Brian basically sits until like 3 a.m. in a darkened cave with nothing but YouTube, mainly team radio. But
that's correct.
But he does a sterling shift for us here on the Dirty Side to really pour over everything that you never knew you wanted to watch.
See, it's a job someone's got to do, right?
No, it's hats off to you, Brian. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to do it, so I'm glad you do. However, we kind of realised that he needs to come up with a system to help you guys understand which ones you need to go for. Now, it might need polish, but why don't you introduce your grading system to us?
Well, for this week, we're going to ease in because I couldn't think of anything better. So the good ones will get a send it. Full send, lick the stamp and send it. Here we go, full send. The middle of the pack will get friend it because it rhymes with send it. And then the ones that can be skipped will get a meh. So we're going to go rapid fire because there's a boatload. I almost said something else. All right. So Formula One channel, getting to know your 2022 F1 team principals. Fun to see some of them show some personality. Mike Crack came across fantastic. Sign me up. Full send. Would you rather on the F1 channel with a bunch of drivers given 2 choices of things, 6 minutes and 45 seconds of just heaven. It was great. The favorite question I had was, would you rather race against peak Senna or peak Schumacher? And they didn't ask Mick this, of course, in the same way they had other questions about Monaco. They didn't ask Charles. But the drivers were great, and Danny Rick was the best. He's like, neither, because they're too good. And then Max Verstappen was like, both, because they're both legends. You know, I loved both those answers, full send. And then Haas had a couple map the track with K-Mag and Mick, and they had stickers, and they had to put them on a big map as they'd give clues to the circuits. It was okay. Friend it. And then they had another one called Do You Know Me? 6 minutes of clues about the other driver. And it was obvious Kevin doesn't know anything about Mick. It was mind-blowing. So I would say, unless you're a Haas boy or a Haas girl, I'd say meh on that one. I'll do one more, and then you can ask me a question there, Rob. But the C squared challenge Ferrari had, pétanque, is that the same as bocce ball? Do you know?
I have no clue. You've just said 2 words, and I don't really know what either of them are.
It was like bocce ball to me. They're playing it inside, and it was Charles and Carlos, and they had someone else, and then another fellow. And I watched the whole thing without realizing the other fellow was Antonio Giovinazzi. I had no idea Antonio was there. Like, it was amazing. Hairpin. Yeah, hairpin. I had no clue it was Antonio. And so then I said, I was going to say meh. But now that Antonio is in it as well as Carlos and Charles, I'd give it a friend it.
So wait there. So the content was only worth a meh. But because
Correct.
you then, after the fact, realised who was giving you the meh content, it's now worth watching.
Yeah.
I love
didn't
this
even know it was
system.
there. It was like,
I've also got to pick you up on, we've got 3 ratings. We've got friend it, send it, and meh. We've also now got, on the ones you've just reviewed, we've got a difference between a send and a full send.
Well, full send is the same as lick the stamp and send. It's all the same. It's all related.
I
They
think
had
you're
a
gonna fine-tune
highs
this.
and lows on the F1 channel of Charles Leclerc's 2022 so far. It made me very sad. Do not watch. It reminded me of Maddie WTF1's video of the years. Yeah, don't watch. It's meh. It's avoid.
We're looking forward, Brian. We're looking forward. We're not looking back.
Best. Well, then you're not going to like a couple of these. Best wheel-to-wheel battles so far in 2022 on F1. Full send. Loved it. There's actually 3 in a row here that are great. What qualifying feels like on the F1 channel, and the 10 best moments on team radio so far. All of those, thumbs up from SAP. Go check them out. Can't be beat. It just, the whole, like, the F1 channel went absolutely ape nuts the last 3 weeks or week and a half. Nuts, like ape. Anyway, and so they had everything was great. Grill the Grid, A to Z for tracks for the drivers. Their apparently finale for Grill the Grid in 2022. Full send, top onboards, full send. The only one I would give a friend it is the F1 animated 2022 so far. It was okay. I'm done. See, I went through fast. There was a lot. I would just basically say
actually.
if F1 YouTube is on your radar, pretty much everything they've launched recently is worth watching. And then the ones that were off that we talked about from Haas and Ferrari and other places, worth checking out, I guess.
And on the here's a segue for you on the subject of launching things. We've seen there's a lot of new podcasts coming into the space at the moment, which is great because when Brian and I started this, two bozos getting together to talk about F1, we went out on this crusade that this is a growing sport. This is going to get more eyes on it. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. And now we're going to have to find time to actually listen to other people's pods so that we can both listen, enjoy, and steal any good ideas for ourselves.
Of course.
But, then the couple that are coming out, we've kind of got a tenuous link with that we can kind of ride on the back of it. We've got Nate Saunders, friend and guest of the show from ESPN, have launched it's with Lawrence and Katie, right? They've done Unlapped.
Yep, Unlapped.
Yep. We've also had big news for Brian. So as everyone knows, Brian is an absolute nerd and loves everything technical about this sport, far too much, especially when it's connected to tires. But there's two guys on that have got big Twitter followings, Bryson Sullivan and Dr. Obbs, and they have launched their Tech Heads podcast. And I listened to the first one, and it is quality, but it is definitely PhD level stuff that Brian's going to love.
And we've seen also Break, who was also a friend of the pod and a guest here, launching with Engine Mode 11 engine braking. So we're excited for you, Blake, and wish you guys well. I'm sure it'll be fun. And then folks who like journalists like Alanis King has launched one. All of this within the last month or so. And I would just say it's really exciting. It's an exciting time to see all of this happen in the F1 space. But if you're looking for a couple fans who enjoy talking F1 and bring you sap stats and Vale's tales and exciting guests, you should keep listening. And of course, you should tell a friend. We actually have an example of content you can't find anywhere else. I went plumbing, Rob. I plumbed the depths of Twitter. And I found some interesting information that you will not find on any other podcast. And I want to make sure we highlight it. Sap Stats, Plumbing the Depths of Twitter edition. User at Ferrar_Ria. I was thinking, and Max and Charles are the only drivers on the grid whose initials, MV and CL, are Roman numerals. CL's 150 and MV's 1005. And if you add those together, it's 1155, which are their teammates' numbers. The universe is incredible. Oh, you can't find that anywhere else. Dirty side of the track, exclusive.
Forget vortices and downforce, and this is where the real stuff is. This is where the science in the sport is. Roman numerals, it's this Illuminati and everything all together. It's fantastic.
We are living in a matrix, and if you don't understand it, people, I can't get you to open up your eyes enough. Anyway,
okay.
All right.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, before we get onto our Spa preview, now we've got our ridiculously stupid game, which I'm completely blaming on Brian, but it was good fun pulling it together. So I don't even know where to start with this, Brian. I'm just going to hand it over to you because I don't even think I've done it right. So we'll find out if I even played the game properly here.
Yeah, here we go. So we were having a think the other day on what would be a little fun. Something to get everybody laughing and getting ready back into the race week. And I said to myself, you know what would be brilliant? What if we kind of combined people, things, combonyms, portmanteau, combinations. And so an example of what I'm talking about, I put it on Twitter the other day. This rapper and movie star took their talents to Williams. Who is this? None other than Nikki Latifah. And it's a mix of Nikki Latifi and Queen Latifah. And so it's brilliant. And so I have examples here that we're going to cover, and I'll give you one. Some are people, some are inanimate objects. But Rob, are you ready for your first dirty side driver portmanteau?
Go for it.
This newfound massage parlor alongside a historic track made many in the F1 community cringe. Do you need another clue? Robert Kraft, owner of the New England Patriots, loved the chance to see the race and get another visit at his favorite, quote, massage parlor.
Given that I don't know the name of any massage parlors, I'm in real trouble here.
Belgium may have waffles, but will they love you long time? So the answer is Orchids of Asia de Spa Francorchamps.
Oh my gosh! I thought we were doing drivers.
Yeah, I got those two.
So you start me off on one that isn't even a driver.
All right, you want one with both a driver and an inanimate object?
Oh my gosh!
All right, how about two drivers? Or two people. This duo both changed scenery recently, and they're both related to Lewis Hamilton. A mile-high experience for the man from King's Lynn.
What are you doing?
AMG for this QB, no longer from the SEA. It's none other than George Russell Wilson.
Oh my gosh! And I have no idea who the other person is. So
Russell Wilson? He's a quarterback in the NFL. Come on now. He's one of the better quarterbacks in the league. Just left Seattle to Denver. Lewis Hamilton owns part of the team now. He drives with him. George Russell Wilson.
I did it completely wrong then. So what I did, I'm annoyed at your two already. So I'll give you a taste of what I thought the game was, which I thought you had to get two people, which when you crash them together, you took one of their names. So one person, other person, crash it together, you end up with a driver. So you've got to guess the driver here, which is...
All right, go for it.
He stops overseeing his floating city to pursue his dream of becoming a martial arts expert who, when he does push-ups, he isn't lifting himself up, but he's pushing the world down. Which driver's that?
What?
So you got two people in there. So
Yeah.
who was the manager of a floating city? Very, very famous. I bet you haven't even seen this film. You're going to annoy me now by not seeing this
Waterworld?
film. Oh my gosh.
What?
So the floating city, is it called Cloud City? Cloud City, I think it was.
I haven't seen it.
You haven't seen Star Wars?
Nope, never have seen one of them.
Oh, now
Yeah, that's a fact I use.
When I was upset, when you were upset that I've never seen, what's that mafia one called that you like?
Sopranos.
That's the one, yeah. Never seen an episode of that, and you've just what you wouldn't have known there is the guy that runs Cloud City is called Lando Calrissian. Now, come on, who is the person that has all the memes about? You don't even know this one either, do you?
No.
So when he does push-ups, he's not lifting himself up, he's pushing the world down.
Chuck Norris? Bruce Lee?
Chuck Norris. So Lando Calrissian, Chuck Norris. Who's the driver? If you
Lando
take two-
Norris.
Yes!
Oh, boy,
Okay,
this
so I'll
game
give
is
you one
going
of
to...
the-
Yes,
this
I
game's
hope our
awful.
listeners are enjoying this.
This is awful. Well, we're going to bail on this one, but you've got to get this one because I know you're a fan of it. So
I
you're
got
going to
other
have to
ones.
get this one. Okay. This guy decides to put away his chest hair and his black Pontiac and decides to direct films about another type of knight. Who is it?
Michael Knight and Sir Lancelot. It's Michael Lance. Lance Stroll, Michael Schumacher. Michael... Is Michael
Okay, so you
part
got
of
the first
it?
part. Michael is from Michael Knight. Now,
Michael Schumacher?
Who
Michael-
directed some of those early Batman films? The other type of knight. Oh, I see. You don't know.
Directed? I
You're
don't
rubbish
watch
in the
Batman
film
either.
there, are you?
Yeah.
So Joel Schumacher. See, you would have got
Michael Schumacher. I got
then.
Schumacher.
Yeah, only because you randomly spat out Michaels after you got Michael Knight.
The s'mores part.
My last one, and then we'll come back because this game is terrible and we really should have
love
rehearsed
it.
this.
No, I got some good ones here.
Have you?
Yeah.
I'll give you my last. I'll give you my last one, and I'm sure you're not even going to get this one. But he stopped making puppets and swapped it for a life of being a journalist who likes to get changed in phone boxes.
So Clark Kent, Jim Clark,
Yes,
Jim
Henson and Clark
Jim
Kent.
Henson.
Boom.
I got that one. All right. The s'mores part will be a big winner, 2 times to be exact. Mr. Monaco takes the lead over marshmallows and Hershey bars. The father in the first father-son duo world champion duo, and the bread on a s'mores. Graham Cracker Hill.
Oh my god. You told me when you set this up, you said the answer would be a driver.
Sort of. The Summer of George for Horsey. George is getting angry. Good thing he has so many sisters to help him stay calm. You should tie up this balding actor from Seinfeld. Jason Alexander Albon.
Oh my gosh! I think we need to get to the spa preview.
All right,
This
my
is
last
kinda
one. My
like
last
Link
one. Here it is.
overboard.
Here's one more. Don't go wide in that corner, or you'll find a lovable curmudgeon. Pretty good way to ruin your car by going just a hair wide. Sausage, curb your enthusiasm.
Oh my god! Is there any way we just don't come back for the second half of the season and just cancel the podcast now?
Last one, and then we're going to Spy. I promise.
seriously?
promise.
There's another
This
one?
is a good one. This is a good one.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Is it okay? I'm either going to friend it, send it, or meh. You give me your last one.
One of the greatest drivers of all time just could not get left. Drove his Lotus in the 60s and the family truckster in the 80s. one of the most underrated champions, highlighted in a previous Vale's Tales, and the famous character played by Chevy Chase. Jim Clark W. Griswold.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
He's not even getting it up to the Met level. I need to find another one below that for this entire segment. I can only apologise, listeners. I mean, we've probably just lost every single listener going now. So
they're sticking around for the Spa preview.
I hope so. It's a good job we didn't put this at the end.
Yeah, well, we should have. So why do we love Spa so much? Rob said this earlier, right? That we both have a strong affinity for the track. And for me, I love the hills and the forests, the amazing backdrop. It's the longest track on the calendar. It's reminiscent of some of those historic older tracks. It is dangerous. I'm not going to get into the stats there because it is sad, but they keep working to make it safer. And the weather is unpredictable, as we unfortunately saw last year when they couldn't race because of the rain, but they still called it a race. But normally it's just, I love it. The track is amazing.
Yeah, it's... I don't know how to put into words, which is going to be difficult for a podcast, being as that's all that we use. But
nailed it.
Yeah, like you just said, it's the backdrop. There's something about Spa that I love, and you can say that there's other circuits that have got great backdrops and great scenery and great whatever. But just something about Spa screams F1, and I just love every aspect of it, whether it's the fact that we tend to see great racing there. It's got some insane corners. We'll go over kind of the track layout in a minute as we'll kind of go about our favourite parts of the track. But then you get just the unpredictability of the weather, which, okay, it went a little bit, we maybe ordered too much rain last year, but it can go from beautiful summer's day to monsoon in like 10 minutes and back again. We've seen some phenomenal drives down the year, whether it's both dry races, wet races. Corner 1 has given us so many crashes, and not dangerous crashes, just because it's not really high speed, that first corner from the start line. But you just know someone's not making it round corner 1. Pretty much every time, right?
Yeah.
We very rarely get
it's
all
effectively
drivers
like
away.
a hairpin to the right. I mean, it isn't, but it's close. And I love all of the turns. I mean, Eau Rouge is probably the most famous corner in Formula One. And then you come out of that up to Raidillon. So that is the one for newer folks. It's right after you make that first hairpin, and then you kind of come down towards it, and it's amazing. It's downhill and then up tremendously, left and right at the same time. And as you come over the crest, it's to the left to take you down to a straight, the Kemmel Straight. I love it. It is impossible to play on video games. When we had Jacques Villeneuve here on this pokey little podcast, he highlighted how much he loves Spa, and he highlighted some of the corners. He talked about Eau Rouge and Raidillon. He actually talked about Pouhon as well. And so I never really had the appreciation for it until Jacques said that. And I went back to the notes, right? I went back and I looked at the track and I drove it on the game again. And it's like, it's for people, it's 2 left turns, but there's a delta in between that isn't a straight. It's very short. But it's also not one corner. So there's like 2 apexes you have to hit. It is awesome. And like, I'd never really appreciated how hard it was to ace it. And that was what Jack was talking about, is something like that. So just every corner is just tremendous there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I did the same as you. I fired up the F1 game this week. And no cheating, no overhead cams. You've got to be down at cockpit level and coming up and what? You can't play it up.
I'd use chase cam, yeah.
You can't use chase cam. How can you appreciate coming uphill and cresting and not having that blind rise and not knowing where you are if you're on chase cam, because you can see over the hill?
Yeah, because I have a real simulator going in my basement is what it is.
But even if you
so
just
that breaks
play
it.
Cockpit cam, you can see how hard it is to pick the apex of that uphill. You're going down, you haven't watched Star Wars, you've never played in cockpit mode. Oh my gosh.
I have played in cockpit mode, but I prefer
it's too
chase
difficult
cam.
for you, isn't it?
Yeah,
okay.
It's too hard. One corner that gets a lot of love is Blanchimont, and it is towards the end of the lap, and it is a left, but it's now taken kind of flat out. So I actually sort of give it less credit than it used to be because of the downforce the cars generate. They can take it effectively flat out. So
they can, as long as they approach it right.
Correct.
And that's where you'll see a lot of because I like it because it is a flat out corner. If you've got the balls to nail the approach right, you can stay foot to the floor and go all the way through it. We've seen people come at it a little bit out of shape, and then it's almost like a badge of not honor, it's sort of dishonor, where they'll listen to the onboard and they go, "Oh, he lifted," and
That's right. You can hear the throttle.
You can hear the throttle lift. I always kind of like to think that kind of after the race, when they're all sat around cracking a beer amongst them, they all kind of take the mick out of each other as to, "Oh,
it's like Top Gear."
Did you?
Yeah, as you go through. Did you lift flat out? And then one of my favorite corners that gets very little credit is the last chicane right before you come back onto the start finish line, and it's the bus stop chicane. And this one has a lot of history to it. So, because I did a little research here, and there's sort of two trains of thought why it's called the bus stop chicane. One, there are chicanes called bus stop chicanes where it's not just a quick left-right kind of jig like you'd see in Monza right after, the start-finish straight. It actually where you kind of, hop in this example left quickly and then straighten out and then hop right back to where the track would be. So it's almost as though there were a bus stop there and you would pull off to pick up passengers and then get back on. And so there are bus stop chicanes that have been at other places, and it's now been changed a bit. And so it's not quite that like leave the track, come back on the track kind of feel. It's more of a traditional chicane, but it still retains the bus stop chicane name. And here's the other part of the story. It actually used to be a bus stop because at some point when they built this track in the 20s, it was built in 1921. It was on public roads. So there was an actual bus stop there at one point, according to at least two sources I found online. So there have been some changes. I'll just highlight one thing really fast. They put some new grandstands up above Eau Rouge, so that'll look new to people. And there's a ton of gravel they brought in. I did not know this. Like, they brought in gravel at places I didn't even know. They took out some extra asphalt and tarmac and put down gravel at the runoffs. So someone better tell Carlos before he gets there. But I don't want him stuck in the gravel again like he was doing at the beginning of the year.
It's like a new era. It's new optimism. Until there won't be a Ferrari mishap this second half until the first one. But until that first one, we live in a Ferrari mishap-free day, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think we're all kind of on eggshells.
We're on our longest stint. I've got like a clock up on the wall, day since last Ferrari incident. And right now we're at our highest count since the season started. Because, yes, I've been keeping the count going during the off-season, but let's not worry about that.
Yeah, exactly.
But, no, going back to the bus stop, I love the bus stop because just of its position at the end of the lap, it's great in qualifying because you screw that chicane up and you've lost your lap. You can do a perfect Spa lap and it can all be gone in
a minute 45 you've invested and then ruined, as you said, right there.
Exactly. And in the race, it's such a good braking zone and then provides that, like they come out of, if you try to put a move on there or if you get good traction out of the corner, you're now at sprint down to turn one again where it's all going to get close and feisty again. So it's on its own, maybe it's not the best series of a chicane in the world, but it's just this positioning where it is. I just think I'm a big fan of it. I just love this whole track, as I think it's probably pretty obvious that
that's why we're so worried it's not technically on the calendar yet that we've heard for 2023. So that would be let's not do that'd be blasphemous. So most wins at Spa: Schumi with 6, Senna with 5, Jim Clark with 4, Kimi had 4. That was a surprise when I saw that. There, Lewis has 4. Fangio, Damon Hill, and Vettel with 3, and then a bunch of people 2 and 1, but other current drivers who have a win there: Max, Charles, and Daniel. And then one last sort of sap stat here about this track. Spa edition. Okay, and so what's pretty cool to me is there are a decent spread of wins, not just from the pole. So people can win this from any position, but interestingly, no one has ever won from 4th. And so I added up 3rd, 5th, and 6th, and there are 15 combined wins from 3rd, 5th, and 6th, but 0 from 4th. So I'm curious to see if we can break that statistical anomaly this coming weekend. But technically, it's not race week yet, according to Rob. So tomorrow I'll be excited to see if race week can break the 4th. But today I'm not yet.
Just going back to what you're talking about, the history of the layout, I'd encourage people that don't understand how big Spa used to be, to just go Google original Spa layout, and one of the first images that comes up is the original track layout with the kind of the current track layout bolded and then a grayer outline of it. I mean, this was a beast. Like you said earlier, it's still the longest track on the calendar now, but it was ridiculous levels. I think it was, what did you say it was originally, or did you not say that?
I didn't. It was 14.9 kilometers.
14 and it's 7 now, so it used to be twice as long as it is now. I mean, that's
could you
kind
imagine
of putting it up
having
there with like Nürburgring type.
Yeah, could you imagine having a 3.5, 4-minute lap in today's F1? They were doing 55 seconds at the Bahrain short, the secure short in 2020, and it'll be like 4 times as long per lap. That would be insane. Because what they do,
Spa's a low lap count because of the distance, right?
Yeah, it's like 44 or something like that.
Yeah, so you imagine if it was the original, it'd be like a 20-lap race. People would think it was a sprint race. No.
Well, could you imagine going to watch? You only see the cars go by every 4 minutes. Hey, there's Max, and then you gotta like go get a sandwich and come back and wait to see him again.
Well, it's like I think the original Nürburgring is like isn't that like about 25 miles long or something stupid? It's literally you'd have a 2-lap race. Anyway, we're not talking about that. We're talking about Spa. It's weird when little stats like that come up. Like that fourth, there's no actual logic for it whatsoever. It's just one of those stupid little facts that. And
they've been racing there since '50. It was on the first year of F1, one of the 7 or so tracks on the first season of F1. And by the way, that race was won by Juan Manuel Fangio, who we did a Veil's Tales about, and he led home an Alfa Romeo 1-2 with Farina, the 1950 world champion, right behind him. So, again, not that I'm a nerd for this stuff. I wasn't going to say any of that, but just you brought it up.
So. Because we don't have like much other content, we don't tend to get into this on a preview week because it's normally come off the back of a race review. So let's just indulge ourselves a little bit longer here. So, given what we know about how the season has gone, what's your... And I'm springing this on you, Brian, because you had no idea I was going to do this, but...
Deer in the headlights.
Yeah, exactly. What's your predicted pole, and who do you think is going to win the race? And do you see any surprises coming from outside the kind of the Ferrari and Red Bull area? Who do you think's best of the rest at Spa? If you don't think that you might pick someone else. Actually, sorry, I shouldn't put words in your mouth. Who do you think's going to win it?
Well,
Who's going to pole it?
I think we'll see Max take the pole and the win.
Okay.
Because to me, it's not as much a downforce track as we saw like in Hungary, where Ferrari had the advantage. And you know, it's like you go back even the season to Miami, where the long-ass straight, and Red Bull has the speed advantage. And I know Ferrari's been catching up, but to me, it's a higher speed track. There are turns, and I get it, but I think Max can really, and it's not filled with straights, but it's filled with high-speed corners. And so I think Red Bull will sit well. It is a huge Max fan track. It's in Belgium. It's, right there where he's from. So being Dutch and part Belgian as I am, I appreciate the Orange Army will be there. So I think Max is going to take pole. And then again in the race, I think he's going to win. Now, here's the thing that I think will be interesting is where's Mercedes going to be? That is to me the wild card for a win perspective. And even on the podium is, do George and Lewis have the pace in the car, which I think they do. And, they resurface this track fairly regularly. It's not a road course. So I think the smoother tracks have favored Mercedes. Less need for the downforce favors Mercedes, not to win, but to challenge the podium. So I actually think it'll be a 6 kind of car race between the Mercedes, the Red Bulls, and the Ferraris. And I'm not discounting Ferrari. I just feel as though of those 6 cars from those 3 teams, I'd put my marbles on the Max Verstappen
I would as well, but the most likely to spring a surprise win, I'm going to say, is Mercedes, because I'm with you on this, which watching their improvement race by race by race, and every time they go somewhere where, like you say, track is smooth, the street circuit seemed to have screwed them with the porpoise, and they've had to raise the ride height of the car, and that's obviously sacrificing speed. So, yeah, I think we were sort of saying with Paul, we think that, or I think that Lewis will become a 300 club winner. Not saying this is his best opportunity for it, but we sometimes get some surprise results when we come out of the break where some teams have been able to sort of take a step back, recharge, reprioritize. I mean, Alpine have looked quick as well.
I was going to say, Alpine has been very fast. This could be an Alpine track.
Yeah, so and I was trying to go over the same kind of thought process of you, of teams that are fast, but when we start getting technical corners or too much downforce required, they tend to fall away. So both Alfa and Haas have been fast. As soon as we get into Alfa, just kind of tailed off a little bit. They had a disappointing end.
Romeo or Tauri?
Sorry, Alfa Tauri isn't Alfa to me. When I say Alfa, I mean Alfa.
Yeah.
Not Alpaha.
You can just call him Toro.
Yeah, maybe I should. So, I don't know. I'm just super excited just to have racing back on again.
Too.
And I think this is a great race to get back into because we're building this up so much. It's either going to get rained out again or it's going to be the world's suckiest
weather
race
in the
ever.
forecast. I mean, there is rain in the weather forecast, and it's freaking me out. Normally, I'm the guy who cheers on a little bit of rain, and I think I've made my preference known. I love when we get some wet quali and then dry race as the quali jumbles up the starting order, and then the race is more fun to watch as race pace comes through and teams have to pass and make edits and changes and strategy, and I love it.
Yeah.
But what I don't want is another monsoon on Sunday to come through, and we watch people, I mean, this is where Lewis had to get out and go use the bathroom, and we heard this last year.
I went to the toilet. The one I went to, someone had dropped a crazy bomb in there. It was the worst thing ever. It's gonna haunt me for life.
So, that was the highlight of the race last year, effectively. That was how bad it was. But, so let's hope we don't have the weather. Let's hope we don't have the total chaos. But I can't wait. I can't wait. I will be playing the F1 game, playing Spa over and over, trying to nail Eau Rouge and Radeon and trying to nail Pouin as I go around the corners. Just can't wait.
And that's another good segue is that one of the things we've got to bring back to the surface, something we started many episodes ago, but we've kind of gone a little bit quiet on because there's just been so much racing content, is that we do have a season-long Rob versus Brian contest going on. We kicked it off way back when with a Fake Facts quiz show. We tied the first Fake Facts, so we did a Fake Facts, the sequel, which I won. So I took the first point. Then we did a drunken draft up at Brian's where we completely messed up how to separate drivers and constructors and team principals into two teams. Oh, it was fun, but we had no idea what we were doing.
None.
And what that came up with is we have Rob versus Brian the draft, where I have my lineup of drivers and teams and principal, and Brian has his. And so far, we have raced at Miami and at the UK, and Brian has taken
which were your
both
picks
of
for
those,
your
which
tracks.
were my picks for tracks.
You picked those tracks.
Yeah, I did.
And I won both of those, you said?
You won both of those. So right now, I can't win.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Rob
Who won the first two so far?
You.
Okay, that's good.
But you haven't got a point on the board yet, because remember, we said the draft counts as
I'm
8
totally spiking the football before I get to the end zone.
I know. But I can't win. I can't win the draft now. I can only tie it. So and our next Rob versus Brian the draft is Spa,
which I chose.
Which you
I
chose.
love it.
So if you win Spa, then the Kota one is it doesn't really matter. But
right.
I would like it not to be a complete annihilation by you. And then we'll be heading off into. We do have Card Sharks. Quiz game, or for anyone in the UK, Play Your Cards Right. It's a very high tech game that we've developed, and then we are going to try and tie in another Rob versus Brian, where we do want to do some kind of head to head on the F1 game. Now, as Brian said, we were going to try and see if we could get our fastest laps for Spa in before this week, but that didn't quite happen. But we're going to do something before the end of the year where we kind of put our driving skills to the test. However, based on today's revelations, chase cam should be banned.
Well, I mean, if you want to make up rules as we go, that's fine.
Well, maybe we put it out to the
your regular Massey
we'll do a Twitter poll and say,
pull a Massey a little bit, making it up as you go, Michael Massey.
We haven't started, so how can I change the rules when we haven't even started it yet?
You're making stuff up now. and then, of course, isn't our ongoing actual F1 fantasy game a Rob versus Brian point?
Yes, it is. Yeah, which you're likely to take, I would think. But I'm falling
unless
out
I forget to
of
put
love
my
with
lineup
this.
in for a while.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing what's going on with following the Fantasy F1 Tips Twitter account that we do, and who's a guest of the show.
F1 Fantasy Hub.
That's it, F1
Rob.
Fantasy Hub. He's kind of putting it out there like the game's broken. There's too much this pump and dump and valuations going all over the place. It's for such a good idea and for such a good game, they need to give it to a different vendor, I think, to run it, because it's just been abused a little bit at the moment. But that's fine. We'll play with the hand we're dealt, and you will probably continue to crush me. So I'm going to need to up my game in Card Sharks and also in head-to-head on the track. So
yeah, and you need this Spa win to at least get a shot at a tie. So we'll see.
Yep. So that's that. We will be moving into race week tomorrow, and I can't wait to be chewing over the finer points of what will hopefully have been an absolutely awesome Spa race when we sit down to record next week.
I'm excited. I'm actually watching it in Milwaukee with some friends. So I can't wait to watch with them and kind of watch the race unfold. And hopefully there is a race, because I need to get back to Chicago for a fantasy football draft. So if they do the 4-hour rain delay thing, I'm in deep trouble. But, we'll see. Everybody enjoy the week. Welcome back to apparently tomorrow, the start of race week. And enjoy Spa. We look forward to recapping it and catching up with everyone again a week from now. Welcome back from break. Have a great end of your summer, everybody. Be well.